Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for our August Partner Bootcamp. My name is Dave Bohr. I'm Director of Partner Marketing at Acquia, and I'll be excited to host and moderate today's session. And I'll introduce our guest of honor in just a minute. But today we're going to be talking about dissecting the DXP demo. So for many of you that joined us for 2 boot camps last month in July, we rolled out a lot of new messaging around our new strategy and product framework. And so you got a sneak peek at everything that we're working on behind the scenes and in front of the scenes as well. So now we're going to be diving a little bit more deeply into that demo and talking about some of the things that go on behind the scenes with our pre-sales and engineers. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. As always, if you have any questions, please submit them into the chat. We will be making time at the end to get to all of those. Also, this session is being recorded, and we're going to send a follow-up email in 1 or 2 days after the session to make sure that you get the recording and the slides, and you're ready to rock with all the materials. All right, that's all I got for housekeeping, so let's review today's agenda. In just a minute, I'm going to provide a quick partner marketing update. After that, we're going to jump into the dissecting the DXP demo portion. Like I just said, we'll have some time at the end for Q&A, and you would be wise to stay until the end. We're going to have a quick quiz based on today's subject matter expertise, and you'll have a chance to win a prize. So don't miss out on that. All right, quick partner marketing update from yours truly. Next slide, please. Great. So first up, I know it's on many people's minds, Acquia Engage. I know I've mentioned this before, but I'll say it again. It is happening. It's going to be virtual. It's going to be 1.5 days, October 20th and 21st. And our team is hard at work creating what's going to be a fantastic event. We're really excited about it. I know that many people that are joining us today, you've attended a lot of these virtual events over the past weeks, maybe even months, and your feedback is really helping to shape the approach this year. We know we've heard feedback on some of the other platforms that folks are using. One sneak peek, I want to let you guys know, we are creating a totally custom platform for Engage this year. I actually just got a first look at it the other day. It's really cool. I really think you guys are going to like it a lot. I am still finalizing the partnership packages, but your partner managers are ready today to share a couple of those opportunities with you now. So be sure to reach out, call them, email them, ask them for some details. And in the next couple of days, we'll have even more stuff that we can share with you. For those of you interested in speaking opportunities, be sure to visit the Engage landing page. We're throwing that link into the chat right now, and submit your calls for papers. That's going to be the best way for us to see, what you might be interested in talking about, where you've got expertise, where you've got new wins and case studies. So be sure to take advantage of that link. And one more item related to Engage, the Engage Awards. Most of you know about these, but for those who don't, it's a great opportunity to reach out to your partner manager again and ask about how this works, get all the details. The deadline to submit is coming up in just a few weeks. So be sure to, again, talk with your partner manager, talk with your teams, and look to submit as many as you can. Last year, we had 90 Engage Award submissions from partners. We're looking to beat that this year, so help us out. That's an OKR we've all got here on the Acquia side. But remember, you can submit the same case for multiple categories, and it counts as a unique submission. So we're looking forward to seeing what comes in, and we hope to be celebrating as many of you as possible this October. All right, one final update before we introduce the guest of honor. Something new that we're trying this month, and I think we'll probably introduce it at boot camps moving forward. We thought you guys would love to know what's working really well for Acquia content. So this is a quick list of the top performing webinars, blogs, ebooks, and case studies from the past few months here at Acquia. This stuff is driving a lot of eyeballs. It's driving a lot of form fills for the gated items like ebooks and case studies. When we send the follow-up email from today's session, we will send the presentation, and all of these items are going to be linked so you can access that stuff. We encourage you to leverage all of these supporting assets in your own marketing emails and sales pursuits. Build off of them, build off of them with examples and use cases when you're creating your next blog post, your next ebook or white paper, and your next presentation, so that you can kind of dovetail with a lot of our messaging and USPs and themes and make it easier for us to do the next round of co-marketing as well. So hope you like this. We think it'll be really helpful for your efforts. And again, all of these will be linked when we share the follow-up email. All right, now to the main event. I'm very pleased to welcome to the stage my friend and personal hero, Ron Northcutt. Ron is a principal solutions architect here at Acquia. He's been here for quite a while. He knows where all of the bodies are hidden here. But we're really excited to welcome him on to today's session. I'm sure some of you folks have met Ron. Maybe he's helped you with a demo sometime in the past. He's extremely knowledgeable. And today he's going to be talking to us about what goes on behind the scenes and dissecting this DXP demo. So I'm going to take a back seat for a little bit. Ron, please introduce yourself and go ahead and get started.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, appreciate it. So I am Ron Northcutt, Principal Solutions Architect, and I actually lead up the demo team here at Acquia in pre-sales. And one of the things that I wanted to do when we came to this was not only kind of give you some insight into the DXP demos that we have and that we can deliver and help you out, but I really wanted to take the opportunity to kind of break that open and talk about the why behind this. There's a lot of effort, a lot of training, a lot of research, a lot of work that we put in pre-sales, far more than you may think, so that we can make sure that our solutions engineers have the tools as well as the training to actually deliver impactful demos that are going to help accomplish the goal of getting a sale. So let's go ahead and jump into this real quick. So first thing, just full disclosure, I haven't specifically asked for permission or anything like that to share this information. It's not necessarily something that is secret, but it's definitely kind of part of the secret sauce that we have. So I'm hopeful that everyone is going to really appreciate this, because this is the kind of stuff that I wish I had known 6 years ago when I started at Acquia. The pre-sales organization didn't even have a lot of this put together yet. And so this has really evolved over time. So what we're going to take a look at here is a couple of things. First, this is kind of the Cliff Notes version of our demo approach. So this is the most important aspects that we put in, and there's 5 key points we're going to look at. And then we're going to see some examples. There's going to be 2 different scenes that I'm going to run through from our DXP demo to show how those pieces come together. A couple things to keep in mind is that there's, as I mentioned, there's a lot more behind this than it may seem like, and this is all based on human psychology and based on the ways that we know are ideal for helping to communicate and help people understand things like the solutions that we offer. The demos are always, we try to be customer centric. In fact, our challenge that we have is we try not to say Acquia any more than absolutely necessary. We try not to even talk about specific products more than we need to. And we try to talk more about the customer, their company, and their issue. And the ultimate goal is really to help the customer see the value that's there. And a value is a very relative term, because something that's valuable to you may not be valuable to someone else. And so part of the job that we have together when we're working with customers is to kind of extract from, through the discovery process, what's actually going to be useful to them, what their problems and challenges are, and how we can meet those. So let's jump in and take a look at those 5 key points. So the first point should not be anything too crazy: preparation. So going in, it's possible to just go in and talk about things, but again, we want to make sure that we're doing this in the right way. So even if we don't have a lot of time to plan, we want to have a planning meeting of some type. Make sure that we're in alignment with the sales team, make sure we're in alignment with the partner. We can identify what are those key value points. We can show thousands of different things using the DXP. What we want to do is highlight those things that are going to be impactful to the customer. Discovery, obviously discovery is something that's important. Everybody knows this. We've got to figure out what are they trying to accomplish, but really what I look for first is the motivation behind what they're trying to accomplish. Not just that they need a new website, but why do they need it? What are the goals that are going on? What are the executives trying to accomplish? What's the company trying to do? Why now? What's that motivating factor that's causing this to take place? And then, this is something a lot of people don't necessarily think about, but what are we getting back in return? So if we're going to be investing the time to go talk to customers and take the time to package and put together this information and show them how we can help them, what are we collectively going to be getting back? Are we getting access to decision makers? Are we going to be able to use this to drive deeper discovery so that we can get clarity? Are we going to be able to hopefully influence the buying decision in some way? So this is part of that preparation where we want to go into this and figure out, we're giving something, we want to get something back in return. General planning, we'll see this in the next few steps. That would be structure, or the context, identifying that value, the story that we're going to be telling, and then practice. So practice is something that we talk about a lot here. You may not know this, but we actually have some principal foundational demos that our SEs build all of our demos from, that have scripts and decks, and we actually have a certification process internally. Our SEs have to go through this process to certify that they know how to do this properly. And then we also want to have, whenever possible, practices, and even sometimes for large deals, we'll even do multiple dry runs with the full team. And the point here is that we want to make sure that we've got all of the steps laid out. We know where we're going. We know what we're trying to accomplish and how we're going to get there, so that in the moment when you're in front of the customer and you're delivering this demo, you can really focus on the style, you can focus on being dynamic, and you can focus on the customer themselves. We want as much as possible, all of the demo stuff to be pretty ingrained and very natural, so that we don't have to take a lot of time. And this is something you're going to see that we repeat throughout these key steps. Performing a demo of any type is theater to some degree. And so it's not just about reading the lines of the script, it's about delivery, it's about impact, it's about working with your team on who's going to say what and when. So the second thing is structure, and this is actually really, really critical. The basic structure that we kind of go through is we have a limbic opening, we redefine what that discovery was, and then we have what's called a tell, show, tell loop, and then finally we have some type of call to action. A limbic opening is a popular concept when you're talking about presentations of any type. It's something designed to attract and get attention. And if you'll think back to just a few minutes ago, I had a very subtle or soft, well, maybe not subtle, limbic opening with this big picture of someone, shushing with their finger over their mouth, and me saying that I'm not supposed to tell you this. That's a limbic opening, and it's designed to grab attention and to make the audience sit forward and say, okay, wait, now what's going on here? You can come back to those limbic things periodically, but we want to start off and get everyone's attention and get them excited and engaged. Reviewing what we heard, this is actually pretty formulaic, but it works out really, really well. This is not only an opportunity to, just affirm with the customer those things that we are now assuming, that we've heard, that we're basing the demo on, but we can ask for clarification. And often, if we do this well, we may even have a mini discovery where we can find other things. Perhaps we've used this demo to get a C-level exec in that we haven't spoken with yet, and that exec might have some things that are important to them that we haven't found out yet. So this is a great opportunity for them to affirm what we think we've heard, as well as correct us. This is where we want to make sure that we've had our practice, because there may be some things that pop up that we haven't planned for. And so wherever possible, we want to, be audible ready so that we can address those as we go through the demo. If we've had enough practice with the demo, making on the fly adjustments is going to be not only possible, but it's going to be much less stressful. And we're going to be able to track that much easier. The tell, show, tell. This is a really, really important part. And actually this kind of defines the main body of the demo. Once we get into the demo, we're actually doing these tell, show, tell loops. A tell, show, tell loop is kind of what it sounds like. You tell someone what you're going to show them, you show that to them, and then you tell them what you showed them. And remember, this goes back to this idea of human psychology. Odds are, when we are presenting to someone or doing a demo, we're not the only ones. There are other vendors, there's going to be possibly other partners that you're going up against, other agencies. And so what we want to do is make sure that we stand out, that we can be very clear. And again, those critical things that we want them to come away with, the points where they're going to see the value, the places where this solution that we're offering solves their specific problems, we really want to focus in on those. Because again, we can show 1,000 things. We want to show the things that are going to be impactful, and we want to make really sure that they're going to remember those things. So the tell, show, tell is critical to how we do that. One thing that this does also is it does take a little bit more time than someone might normally put in. They might just kind of go through a list. And so by taking more time means that we have to get more focused on those things. So one thing that I always like to do is I like to think of what are those top 3 to 5 things that if they remember nothing else, I want them to remember these things. And those are the ones that I really want to hammer home. They should come out of the meeting and they should be like, that was pretty good. And I remember 1, 2, 3. I remember those 3 things, and those are impactful, and those are going to help us drive towards our goals, and that's going to make us look good, and that's going to solve our problems. And then finally, the call to action. We want to drive all of this to some place. We're not just here to put on a show and a performance. We want to get to some next step. And we want to define that as part of that preparation before we get there. The other thing that we can do is we can roll the call to action and tie it back to that discovery and what we heard. So maybe there was something that was added, and we have a call to action that we're going to have a follow-up meeting to dig into that, or that there's going to be another demo with the security team or with the content authors. Maybe we're going back and showing that we've heard that this is the process that we're going through. We've asked for clarification, and the next step is to help drive us into that process. Let's have a follow-up meeting with procurement or whatever it may be. So this is the basic structure that we try and put in place for our demos. And this really helps us make sure that we can actually get those results that we're really looking for. Context. So when we're thinking about kind of the script that we're putting together, one of the first things, if you get involved with pre-sales at Acquia, you'll probably hear this because this is habitual for all of us, is to ask the question, so what? And this is one of those things, the tell, show, tell loop is one. This is another one of those things that I would say, if you leave this only remembering 1 or 2 things, remember, so what? Ask yourself, so what? When we present something to a customer, you should in your head be asking this question, because we want to answer that question. We want the customer to know why we're showing this to them. We want them to know how this is going to be impactful and valuable. It should be obvious to them how this helps them. Because again, remember, we want to be customer centric. We're trying to put this into their world. Think about what is the goal we're trying to achieve. So there's our goal, right? That would roll into that the call to action. And so we've got the goals we're trying to achieve, which is to get a contract, get a deal, secure a project. But there's also the customer goal. And that's critical to making sure that we understand where they're coming from. A lot of times when customers are in situations like this, they've got multiple parties that are trying to sell them. And a lot of times the easiest thing for that organization to do is to show up, talk about how great they are, all the great stuff they're going to do, how the customer's world is going to be so much better afterwards, and then they disappear again. And a lot of times they leave it up to the customer to figure out how that particular solution is going to apply to them. We want to make it really easy for the customer. We want to, by doing the discovery, figure out what their goals are and then explicitly tell them, this is going to help you accomplish this goal. You know, I was in a call yesterday with a customer, and they are rolling out a new e-commerce platform, and they told us that their goal is to double their e-commerce, their online e-commerce revenue in a year, and double it again the year after that. So that kind of information is gold, because now what we can do is when we come back with our custom demo, we're going to specifically highlight all of the things that are going to help them double their revenue 2 years in a row. I can guarantee you, when we come in with that messaging, we're going to be impactful, we're going to be remembered, and we're going to have a much better chance of being able to help them out. Who is the audience? This is so incredibly important. Is it a technical audience? Is it marketing focused? Is it executive? Are we talking about the day-to-day content creators who are not technical? Are we talking to security people? Very, very important. And often it's going to be some type of mix, right? So what we want to do is figure out who the audience is and what do they as individuals, those roles and those people, what do they care about? Because we may know the goal of the company from the top. We also need to know the goals of each of those members of the audience. And as much as possible, we want to try and help them see how they can achieve their goals as well. And that's going to define what they need to see. And you know, what matters. When we're talking about this, we're trying to define what value is. We need to try and figure out what actually is going to matter. And potentially, does the customer even know that that matters? There have been plenty of times I've been involved in discussions with customers, and they're asking for one thing, when really what they're asking for is not really what they want or need. It's just the only thing that they know that they've seen or that they're currently using to solve the problem. If we can identify the problem underneath what they're asking for, we can sometimes come back with a much better solution. And we can come back with other factors that they haven't considered. Things like security, or things like uptime, or ease of use, or the overall cost of the project might be, you know, X. However, because of the way we're designing and building it, it's going to be faster and easier. It's going to be more useful for your non-technical team. So you're going to move faster, and you're going to actually get more done with the same amount of money. So it's not just how much you spend, but how much is the spend going to then save us money later? That's one of those things they might not be thinking about. And then finally, so what? Again, right? So what? Why am I telling you all of this? I'm telling you all this because this is vital and important for how we can deliver these demos in an impactful way. And again, so what is that question that I'm hoping that you'll come away with is one of those pieces of value that you're going to get from this. So number 4 on the list, style. This is where we start getting into the way that we deliver the information. And the thing to remember, and it's so easy to fall into, is this is not about what you're doing, it's more about how you're doing it. One of the things that was very difficult for me when I started as a solutions engineer was to get out of my habit of trying to show somebody the features, or even, you know, sometimes worse, going in and teaching them how to use the tool. I had a natural inclination, since I've got a background as a developer, to get really interested in those things and to find those things interesting. But that's not what my audience wanted. That was me thinking about myself. And so what we want to do is break the habit of going in and showing all of these features, or going in and teaching them how to use it. That can come later. That's not what we're trying to accomplish here. less is more. What we want to do is we want to focus on telling the story and delivering this in a way that they're going to be interested, they're going to be engaged, and they're going to pay attention. There are a few things worse than doing a demo, going through doing some type of feature dump and looking around and seeing nothing but glazed eyes. Nothing is landing. We're wasting everybody's time right now. So the style and the way that we approach and the way that we deliver this can not only help get people engaged, but can actually help them remember what we're trying to tell them. And again, that's where that tell, show, tell loop comes into place. Make sure and break things up a bit. Really good idea to take a pause. I mean, this is a broadcast and a webinar, so we don't have the opportunity to do it back and forth. But typically, I like to plan out specific spots. In our demo script, we highlight those spots as golden moments. And the golden moment is when you have an opportunity where you've delivered some information or a series of slides or something that's built up to a moment. And if you can ask the right questions in that moment, it can change everything. When we ask questions, we want to ask open-ended questions. Don't ask a yes or no question. You know, there's a difference between, do you think this will be valuable to your team? Well, number one, they could say no, and that's hard to come back from. But it's a shutdown. What we want to do is ask an open question like, if your team had tools like this today, how would that change things for you? How would that impact you? How would that affect your ability to deliver on the goals that you're trying to accomplish? And then you can just sit back and invite the audience to then give back to you. This is almost like a mini discovery session again. And what this does is several things. Number one, it engages the audience. It gets them back in the game. Number two, it does sometimes either validate or highlight things that maybe you didn't know. And based on the responses, you can tell a lot about what that person cares about, the way that they think. It also gives us the opportunity to find something that we can reinforce. So we ask an open-ended question. We have a number of people saying things, and let's say that Becky chimes in about how it takes 2 weeks to get IT to do anything. Then you can jump back in and say, oh, Becky, that's such a great point. I'm so glad you said that, because as we're going to see in the demo, this really does cut that cycle and enable you to self-service a lot more than you were previously able to. So now, instead of it taking weeks to do what you're describing, you can actually do that in minutes. Does that sound valuable to you? Respond to people by name. A person's name is usually one of their favorite things to hear. So this is an area that I'm not as good at, and I always plan with the reps I'm working with to help me out. We want to specifically call on the people in the audience. Tom, I know that you had said earlier on when we were doing the discovery that you're trying to accomplish this. This is one of those things I'd like you to pay attention, because this is one of those things that you were asking about. Vanessa, when we were talking last week and you were saying that those goals and initiatives you're trying to reach, this is that tool set I was mentioning that can help you do that. So I think this is going to be really interesting to you. Ask people by name. That's another way to kind of break things up. And then just be dynamic. That's just about presentation. It's really easy for folks to just kind of get into a rhythm and a steady type monotone thing where they're going through the slide and they're reading through the notes and delivering this one and then the next thing and the next thing. And then eventually everyone's hypnotized, they're asleep, the hour's gone, and they have no idea what just happened. So we want to vary the tone of our voice. We want to vary the speed that we're speaking. We want to find places to leave those pauses, to ask those questions, making it interactive, engage that team, really kind of make it more of a dynamic experience instead of just a passive one. So really, really important things to work and practice on. And that, to be honest with you, you could apply this outside of a demo, right? I mean, this could be applied to any type of meeting that you might have. And I would highly encourage that if that's not something you think about, that you do. You think about whether it's an internal or an external meeting, think about how you can keep things dynamic, keep things engaging and interesting. You'll notice on the side, I've got a little note here about demo crimes. There's a fantastic book. A lot of the stuff that we do comes from not only this book, Demonstrating to Win, but they also have a company called Demo to Win, and we've done a lot of their trainings. Demo crimes are things that people naturally will do, but that actually hurt you or potentially can hurt you in your demo. Things like the feature dump, or doing a training, or talking about your favorite feature, or going down a rat hole and getting into the weeds somewhere. There's dozens and dozens of these. So I didn't want to list them, but if you're interested in taking this to the next level, I would definitely recommend the Demonstrating to Win book, and paying attention to those demo crimes. Everyone is guilty. I myself am very guilty of these. And every time I go back and review, we have an internal list of the most common demo crimes that we see. And I was just looking at it 2 days ago as we were prepping for this. And every time I look at that list, I am chagrined at how many of those things I fall back into bad habits of. So this is an ongoing process, something to keep in mind. And the skills that we develop for demoing and for presenting are something that we need to continue to evolve and work on in ourselves. So number 5, the last key point here is the story. The story is so critically important. Human beings by nature respond to stories. We come from a long line of storytellers. Before we had anything written, all knowledge was passed from one generation to the next in the form of stories. Most of the most impactful teachers throughout all of history have been masters at telling the story. And even today, we can see that, you know, sometimes it's not even about the best product or the best solution, but sometimes it's about who can tell the best story. That's who's going to win. So this is where we want to really focus on trying to bring the art of storytelling and really helping it supercharge what we're trying to accomplish. And again, we're speaking about demos, but this also applies to any type of presentation, any type of meeting that you can do. If you become a master at telling a story, then you're going to be much more successful in most of the other areas of your life that have to do with other human beings. So when we talk about stories, there are a couple of things specifically with the demo we want to focus on. First off, we want to make it real. We want to make sure that this isn't just complete pie in the sky. Hey, wouldn't it be great if you could do this? We want to have actual anecdotes. We want proof points. We want live demos. We want to be able to show these things. This should be real to the customer, because I can guarantee you that when they're listening to pitches from multiple parties, some of those parties are going to lie or stretch the truth or tell them something that's not necessarily true or is not practical. We want to avoid that. We want to be as real as possible, and we want to be able to back that up. And that, I think, is one of the great strengths that we have with the DXP that we've got. You want to set the stage. So you want to tell them what's going on. Don't just jump into the story, in the demo story. You want to set the stage and tell them the context, you know, who we're talking about. We'll see an example of this here in a moment. Make sure that it's personally relevant. If you can, it's a great idea to tell the story in the context of the company or the business you're speaking to. So, for example, in our default B2B demo, we have a fictitious company called InSpace, and we're talking about a customer, Kamal. Later on, we talk about a director of marketing at InSpace named Emily. Well, it's really easy to change the logo and the name from InSpace to, you know, Acme Incorporated, and from Emily, director of marketing, to Amanda, the you know, marketing VP, whatever it might be. So where possible, make it personally relevant. Even if it's not the exact people, talk about the roles and the way that they work in their company. You know, I know that this is how it works for you guys. You have your planning, meeting, and marketing. That rolls out. Then you have your creative team that creates the assets and the content. And then that rolls out to your web team who's going to deliver it. This is how you would use the tool in each, those different people in those roles would use the tool in those different scenarios. That helps them see themselves using the solution you're defining in the future, which makes it easier for them to understand the value, and then honestly make it easier for them to want it at the end. Build a connection with the audience. You know, anyone that has experience with sales, there are old tried and true things about identifying someone's pain, and oh, you want to make them feel their pain, and that definitely, there's some value there. We try not to lean too much into that when we're talking about a demo. What we do want to do is make sure that they know we understand the difficulties that they have. We understand their challenge. You know, I know that it takes you 2 weeks to get a major change done on the website, and we've talked to your IT team, and that's because of you're using template-based stuff. You have to transfer the files and schedule a deployment. They can only schedule those deployments every couple of weeks. It's not their fault, it's just the process. So let me show you how our solution is going to alleviate that pain. We put the workflow into production. So you've still got the same safety net of making sure that something's not going to be published until it's ready, but it's instantly ready when you are. There's no need to delay. So we want to understand what their challenges and their pain are and show how the solution is going to help us get there. And then again, apply those concepts to the value. So what, right? Let's come back again and make sure that we're focusing on what they care about. What we care about doesn't matter to them. What they care about is what matters. And that's really where we want to focus. So just again, remember, we want to be customer centric. We want to say, you know, Acquia or your own company's name as little as possible. We really want to say their names. We want to focus on their story, and we want to focus on the future state. When we build this thing for you using Acquia's tools, this is what your world is going to look like. This is how your everyday is going to be. Sunshine, rainbows, kitties and puppies, as far as the eye can see. It's going to be amazing. I've got proof points to show I'm right. And here, let me tell you what that story is. And that's how we deliver it. So let's roll right in. I've got about 10 minutes left. I want to go through 2 quick examples. These are 2 scenes that we take from our actual DXP demo. So when we do our demo, we're actually demoing in 2 halves. The first half to the end user, the customer's customer. This is what your customer's experience is going to be. So to jump into role, as I mentioned, this is setting the stage. So here we're going to be talking about this fictitious company, InSpace. It's a B2B co-working business. It's optimized for startups. They provide modern and a tech-forward experience. InSpace is a modern company that are always looking to push the envelope and do things that are going to give them an edge over their competition. And in this story, we're going to be talking about Kamal. Now, Kamal is a startup founder. He's got a successful startup. He's looking to get some office space, but he also needs to make sure that he can scale his space over time. His startup is growing quickly, but he's got to be budget focused, but he also needs to make sure that he can adapt. He can't get locked into the wrong size office for too long, but he also needs to make sure he's going to be able to grow as he needs to. So this is Kamal's journey as he finds and discovers InSpace. We're going to follow Kamal through 4 stages of his experience with InSpace, starting with discovery in stage 1. In this first stage, here's what we're going to see. Kamal's going to be doing some web searches, and he's going to be searching for office space for startups. And this is how he's going to initially discover InSpace. That's going to take him to the main InSpace site. And when he gets there, he's going to see an anonymous personalization that's immediately going to be targeting him and driving him to some relevant content that we're pretty sure he's going to be interested in. When he gets to that content and is reading through, there's going to be a focus item that's going to pop up. And that focus item is going to let him know about an offer that InSpace has for a free 3-day pass. Now, this is available on the site, and he can find it elsewhere, but we want to make sure that we're optimizing the little time that we have with Kamal. This is the point where we'd actually jump into the demo and show the things we just told them. We're going to click on the buttons. We're going to go to the pages. We're going to see the things pop up. everything's lovely, and then we're going to come back. This is our tell, show, tell loop. So what did we just see? We just saw that Kamal was using some organic search to discover the business. When he comes to the site, we're going to take the little we know and be able to immediately start providing some anonymous personalizations as we build that profile about them. And then we're going to be able to use the system to help alert Kamal to this offer that's going to be interesting and relevant for him, that either he might not find at all or he might not find yet. So we really want to optimize Kamal's time while he's here. And here's the so what. Through this point, InSpace now has a prospect. It's anonymous, but we have a prospect and we're tracking. And we're on our path to an MQL. And then for Kamal, he's found some good information. He has a useful offer. He's actually pretty excited about this whole process. So what do we need to make this happen? Well, we need some anonymous personalization and focused offers. This is where we're starting to build out the required capabilities that we want to get the customer to agree that they need, and how that maps to the value that we can provide. So that was a scene from our DXP demo. And as you can see, we had, we made it, hopefully made it relevant to the user. We did a tell, show, tell loop. We set the stage, and we were doing this in the form of a story. So it's more interesting and engaging. And remember, that's human psychology. That's the way humans learn, and that's the way we remember things. So we've gone through the whole demo, the first end user demo about Kamal, and now we're switching gears and talking about the customer themselves. So the first is the what, and the second is the how. How are you going to accomplish this? So in this case, InSpace has a account-based marketing plan that they do. Here is, I'm just going to speed up a little bit. Here's how they do it. Here's what their goal is, and this could be the customer. And then this is Emily. She's the director of marketing. She needs to set up this campaign for review, and she's got to get it done before lunch. So how is she possibly going to do this? With the magic of the DXP. So we've gone through multiple steps. We're on the third step now, personalization. And now Emily's going to be able to personalize in 3 easy steps. Build the campaign, set the rules, preview and publish. We go through, we show that. We come back. This is what you just saw, personalization in 3 easy steps. You saw how I did that. I clicked through and did the things. And then here's that value. Now InSpace has these tools that sales and marketing teams can use. IT now can refocus their energies on innovation and integrations that can give them a competitive advantage. And then for Emily, she loves the self-service. She can use content from the CMS. And this is a way to really increase the performance of that content. Okay, so last things here before we close out. Just trying to rush through. Let us help you do these things. In pre-sales at Acquia, this is what we do every day, all day long. We have training, we have drills, we have certifications. This is our profession. Bring us in to help you. Let us augment your team when you're trying to get these. Reach out to your partner manager, fill out the deal registration form. If you're looking at a more longer term strategy, align with the key sales reps in your region or in your vertical. That may be something you're doing already. Let us come in and help you demo. Let us strategize with you on how we're going to approach this. And let's break this thing out. You do the things you're really good at, and let us do the things we're good at, and together we can come in and help the customer get what they need and actually save them from making a bad choice going with somebody else who's actually possibly going to waste their money and lead them to more pain. You know, and at the end of the day, we want you to be the hero. We want you to be the ones that the customer is thanking. We want you on stage and engaged, talking about this great experience and this great project that you did. You know, that's what we want. So let us help you accomplish that. Finally, as the final point in this, so that I can close out, this is my final tell. If you didn't remember that, this is what we said we were going to see. We saw the Cliff Notes version of our system with those 5 key points. We went through 2 very quick examples. And again, the 3 things that I want you to come away with: make sure that your demo story, and it needs to be a story, is customer centric. Remember that the basic structure of a good demo is tell, show, tell. And always, always, always ask yourself, so what? Why is this important? Why am I showing this? So with that, I think we can bring it back for some QA.
That's awesome, Ron. Thanks so much. That was great. That might have even been my first time getting taken through a lot of that presentation style. So I learned a couple of things there myself.
Excellent. Awesome.
See if I can bring that to the September bootcamp next month. You guys will all hold me
Boom.
accountable.
Yeah.
All right, great. So yeah, folks, use the Q&A button. It should be towards the bottom of your screen. Let us hear those questions. We'll get to as many as we can over the next about 10 minutes. And then we'll save a couple of minutes at the very end. Reminder, we're going to have a quick quiz on what you learned today for a chance to win $20 Amazon gift card. So don't miss that. We do have a couple of questions that have come in right now, Ron, and let's get started with this one. You mentioned earlier that Acquia, your team's got a list of some of those demo crimes. Is that something you might be able to share with folks?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I'd be happy to. They're all in the book. All of them are in that book. And in fact, I can look, there's probably a lot of them online, but I will, Dave, I'll get some of that put together for you, and then you could share it out with the team. Would love to spread the knowledge on that.
Love it. Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks. All right, here's a good question from Sandeep, and I've got a perspective on this, but I'll let you take it as well, Ron. He's asking, how do you put a demo together for a customer that's not really sure what their needs are or what the outcome is that they want from the platform?
So what I would say personally is if we're coming into that, that sounds like we need to do some more discovery. We try to avoid doing demos if we don't have a really qualified op or we don't have good discovery. That being said, as pointed out, there are tons of opportunities for the demo to be a discovery tool. So I think a valuable thing to do would be to come in with a demo that was a little bit more generic and plan to use the open-ended questions and really probe the customer as we go through and talk about some of these capabilities to pull out what some of those are. The caveat is you don't want to do the whole show if that's your plan. You got to leave yourself something in the bank so that you can come back for a more focused demo. But definitely it's you can always use a demo as a discovery tool if you really need to.
That's great. And that was going to be my perspective as well. You know, certainly the technology and B2B companies I've been at recently, we've employed a give to get approach, right? Where the potential customer, the prospect, and a mechanism for pulling them into the sales cycle a little bit more firmly is you need to get a get from them, right? They need to give something in order to get the demo. And a lot of that is what Ron is just talking about there, the discovery. You know, they need to have better answers to these questions. Otherwise, you run the risk of giving a demo and all you're really looking for is, you know, well, did you like the demo? Right. So exactly right, Ron. You know, and there are a lot of sales methodologies out there. There's Medic, and there's, you know, this whole host of other ones, but a lot of them come back to that, you know, what are you getting from the person you're about to give a demo to, making sure that they're really bought in. Otherwise, you've hopefully got a laundry list of other marketing qualified leads and opportunities that
you can invest in,
that you should be prioritizing. That's
you know,
right.
one more thing to add to situations like that can also be a great opportunity to do like a whiteboarding exercise to get with the customer and say, okay, you're not clear exactly on what you're trying to accomplish or why. That's great. Let's get together. Let's plan it out together. Let's whiteboard it out. You know, here's some of the capabilities. Here's how the pieces work, and then that becomes more of a group brainstorming session as opposed to just a presentation. So huge fan of whiteboarding. If you can ever do things like that, very engaging for customers.
All right, Ron, let's see what you got for this one. Do you have any tips or tricks for how to deal with a naysayer, right? I think we all know maybe that one person that loves to get on demos and they like to shoot down any innovation or change. How do you deal with naysayers or detractors during demos?
Oh, my friend, I've had many of them. and I expect I'll have many more. Where possible, you want to identify those beforehand. You don't want to necessarily prepare for it because there's always something that they can do. The challenge is that you want to make sure that you are not getting off track, but you also don't want to be too argumentative. That can make you look bad. So what I try to do is, if I know that someone's going to be a naysayer, or if I feel like someone is, there may be a few things that they say. I'll try and put a real positive spin on it. I would say, well, you know, yeah, but you're talking about JSON API, but we use GraphQL, and GraphQL is better. It's like, hey, you know, actually they both have applications. You're absolutely correct. Agree if you can. I agree with you on that one point. However, there are reasons why you might use one or the other, you know, and then the other thing I do is I'll try to table it, say, that sounds like maybe we should come back and have a deeper discussion about that. Can we do that? Can we come back? Because I would love to hear what you think. You obviously know what you're talking about. You have some strong opinions. I would love to make sure that we're taking what you want to hear and we're putting it into this. Can we do a follow-up? Sometimes if you can kind of sideline them a little bit, then you can get into a place where they'll at least be quiet for now. And then later on, you can have a much more private opportunity for them to naysay all they want where they can't do as much damage.
Great. Love that. All right, got a question here from Body, who is asking, do you always use the same demo strategy when pitching across the globe, right? Are there any geographic or cultural sensitivities that may influence the flow of a demo or the approach or the outline?
So the basic structure doesn't necessarily change because human psychology is what it is, but the context and the story, absolutely. One thing that I haven't personally dealt with, because I've almost entirely been focused in North America, we got some feedback from some of our global SEs that some of our messaging around decoupled, and a lot of times people will call it headless, was not well received in certain parts of the world. And there were some more negative connotations than might otherwise be expected. I hadn't expected that. So as a team, we refocused on decoupled and specifically hybrid decoupled because that's a much better strength. But that was one of those things that was a good example of how we definitely want to think about how things are going to land, because remember, it's supposed to be customer centric. So we've got to speak in their language. We've got to say the things that they expect to hear as much as we can. Good question.
All right, let's get to one or two more before we end with our quiz and a chance to win a prize. Mark is asking, in his experience, he's got clients that ask for very specific scenarios in their demos. How far does Acquia like to go in terms of developing really fully customized versions of a demo for a customer or a prospect?
Excellent question. So we have kind of a couple different levels. We have our default demo, which is just the out of the box, no changes, you run with it and here's what you get, and that's generic. We try not to do that too much because there's a limit in the amount of impact we can have. The next step up would be something we would call a skins demo. It's the kind of the default demo, but we'll change the logo and some of the pictures and maybe some of the words to match the customer. Change the story a little bit, but it stays the same. Then we have what would be a custom demo. Typically a custom demo is what can an SE do in an afternoon? In 2 to 4 hours, what can you do? And anything outside of that 2 to 4 hour window would be something that we would use another customer story or an external example or just hand wave and say, this is how it works. We're not going to be able to show you. Beyond that, we have an exercise we call a POV, a proof of value. And we have a whole regiment around that. And we define with the customer, what do you need to see? What are you going to define as success criteria? There's a document we go through and build out. And it can take a week or two to organize that on both sides. And we get them to agree to it, on both sides. And often, if we absolutely have to do it, that's a way for us to put some guardrails on it. Because what you don't want is the scope to keep growing. If they need to see some very specific stuff, you start building it out like, oh, and we need this, and we need this. If you haven't defined the limits, they can just keep increasing it and just wasting your time. So I would definitely say where possible, try and be limited. And then if you have someone who's very insistent, then just acknowledge, okay, then we're going to need to take the time to define specifically what you need, what that scope is, what success looks like, how can we know that we've done the job, and how can you agree to it? And if the customer's not willing to invest that time, that could be a reason to qualify out.
Terrific. Ron, let's get you out of here on this one, and then we're going to do the poll and wrap up right before the top of the hour.
Awesome.
Is there any time when you would recommend sharing a recorded version of a demo, or do you always recommend that demos be done live?
Recorded versions are great because they are easy to consume. They don't require any more effort out of your team once they're already there. We do have some recorded stuff that we have. We do have some more. I would say that you lose something because it's not customer centric and you don't have that interaction that you can do. I often like to have recorded stuff that we'll do as a leave behind. Maybe you don't do a full demo. Maybe it's more of a meeting and a solution kind of architecture discussion, and we're going to leave behind some videos. But if you have them, or if you're planning to make some, videos are a great asset that you can have either before or after, and can give the hungry customers who want more, give it to them in a way that's efficient for you. So good way to go.
Excellent. Ron, thanks so much for your insights and smarts today. We really appreciate you having you. Folks, I am going to launch a poll in just 1 second. The first person to answer all 3 of these questions correctly is going to get a $20 additional Amazon gift card. We'll follow up after the webinar. Our report's going to give us the timestamps on all these answers. So I'm going to launch this in 1 moment. Be ready, answer quickly, answer correctly, win that money, and then we're going to wrap up. All right, here it comes. All right, you should see it right now. Get in there with your answers. We'll give you about 20 seconds. Answers are coming in. I don't know if you all get to see this, but I get to see the results in real time. This is pretty cool. The bar chart's changing. We got answers all over the place. We're going to have to see how well folks are paying attention. All right, 10 more seconds on this poll, and then we're going to end it. Last couple seconds. All right, poll is over. We are at time. Guys, thanks very much for joining us. Loved having you here. Look forward to September, and we'll be in touch real soon with all the follow-ups. Everyone have a great day. Thanks again.